What is good, everybody? SummerSlam happened. Monday Night Raw had me and Tiers going to be talking about it all. We'll be talking about the Judgment Day. We'll be talking about Britt Baker and MJF's backstage incident that's got a lot of headlines. We'll be talking about Shane McMahon meeting up with Tony Khan. We'll be talking about career versus title, Bryan Danielson against Swerve Strickland at All In. And we'll be finishing it up talking about Roman Reigns' big return at SummerSlam and what that means going forward. So, Tiers, how we feeling today?
Oh, this is gonna be a fun one because there's just when we get to the career versus title for Swerve and Brian, that's gonna be one that I think we got a good amount of things to talk about.
Oh, yeah, hell yeah. So, I talked about it a little bit in my last video. If you guys saw it, I talked about Judgment Day, a little bit of what happened on Raw. Very good Raw last night. The crowd was electric in Baltimore. Definitely think they should have a premium live event there. And they had a lot of stuff going on. Bronson Reed looked like a beast. Odyssey Jones finally appeared. Judgment Day story is advancing. And, I think Judgment Day deserved a lot of credit because when we first saw this group, I mean, we didn't think it was going to turn into anything. I mean, it was just Edge, it was just Rhea, it was just Finn. Well, Finn was in it after, but it was just Priest, Rhea, and Edge. And man, from
Yeah, as soon as
from
Finn joined, Edge kicked out.
yeah, because he didn't want to do what Vince pretty much wanted him to do. When you look at that group from then to now, and how it's gotten everybody over, especially Priest, Rhea, Dom, Finn, like it's helped out everybody. So, I'll start off by asking you, what do you think about the Judgment Day and where that group has taken everybody in it?
Uh, I would say I think I recall when we first started, we were kind of hesitant on it because we weren't really too big on heel Edge. But I think looking back at it, I think the fact that Edge was being a part of it kind of did hinder us from seeing the potential of it. Like when it was just Rhea and Damian Priest, it was okay. But then when Finn showed up and then they kicked Edge out, that led to some fun storyline. But then once Edge left WWE, we kind of were just okay, now what? And then they kept showing us they got stuff to do. They took Dominic Mysterio. They added JD with a lot of hesitation from Priest. I think that was probably a good way to say the first like infighting between Priest and the Judgment Day. I don't know if you want to see it that way. I'm gonna do it because it'll be fun. Then the whole thing with our Truth also fun. A lot of good tag runs. The making Rhea Ripley probably the most dominant woman in the WWE. I want to say, yeah, I feel comfortable saying that. And the Carlito being a part of the group too. That is very cool. But I would just have to say, I think this group was a success.
I agree. I mean, this is probably one of Triple H's best created groups or like booked groups because I mean he's gotten everybody over. He's made Priest a main eventer. Priest is over as hell right now as a babyface. So was Rhea. Dom, I mean, he was just known as Ray's son. You put him in this group, he really became like his own man, his own heel, the Eddie Guerrero of today's generation. And you look at Liv Morgan now; she's involved with this group. Now she's more important. Even JD McDonough and Carlito, like you said, they got roles in this group. So I mean, it's been really a big success. And if you look at Vince, like think about it, Vince when it booked this group, I don't even see it lasting more than a year, really. I mean, it probably would have been over because they fought over a hot dog or something. Who knows? Vince is just horrible with some of these bookings. So kudos to Judgment Day. So Tiz, what do you think about Dom and Liv getting together? What did you think about all that from SummerSlam and how Liv ended up retaining thanks to Dom?
I mean, I'm going to say this. I feel like we kind of predicted that was going to happen. I think I was the one who predicted a accidental help, but it. I think it worked out pretty well. I did see a video before we started this. I think it was yesterday. I saw it where somebody said the whole with the Judgment Day, everything was set up so perfectly with it because I don't recall what part he was saying, but with the Jey Uso promo, backstage, where you can see Liv walking back. It was after Dominic called her out, with Rhea before SummerSlam, and then after Liv walks by, you can see Dominic following behind her. So I think this was one of those things where for all the turns that was happening, people probably could have predicted this like better than any of us could have. So I like stuff like that, to where like it didn't make you feel dumb watching anything that happens.
Yeah, I mean, it all made sense. I mean, it ain't like it was like horribly like booked or thought out. I mean, as soon as I saw Dom smirk at Liv, I was like, yeah, they got it. They're going for the heel couple with them too, and as they should. And I'll ask you this: what do you think about Finn turning on Priest? Because I called that in our prediction video that Finn was going to turn on him. I think QJ said some people are pissed off about it or didn't like the interference. I thought it was kind of obvious Finn was going to interfere, but what are your thoughts on that?
I would say interference is bound to happen for situations like this. Like, you can't just have a match and that has drama and not have interference. It's basically the main thing to get away with drama. Um, I would say I thought it would have been somebody else. Finn being the one was honestly it hits better. I would have thought, Brotherhood, multiple tag championships with each other, but I guess like him winning it with somebody else should have gave that away. But I just love like the reaction from Damien. Like he was about to wring Finn's neck and bring him to the ring himself. I love that kind of touch too.
Yeah, it was really well done, and this feud's going to go on for a while. I also, and I'm not trying to hype myself up, but I did call like Gunther was going to win the title no matter what at SummerSlam. I did not see him losing at Mania and at SummerSlam. So this is a way to make Priest. He still looks strong. He lasted a whole sleeper hold, and then he got out of it or tried to get out of it, and then got put in another. I mean, any like Priest looked weak. It sets up a feud for Finn and Priest for a while, and Gunther's facing Orton at the next pay per view, which I know there's fans pissed off about that. I get it, the brand split. But I will give Triple H credit. At least he gave a reason why Orton showed up on Raw, because they faced off in the King of the Ring. Orton's shoulders weren't technically pinned or whatever, so it gives them a reason to have that match. So I'm okay with that. But yeah, Finn and Priest are going to be a fun feud. I mean, it gives Priest just more of a reason to get over as a babyface. So kudos to Triple H. I think Priest is probably one of the biggest success stories under Triple H, and it's good to see because Priest has earned it. His title reign didn't have all rainbows and lollipops. We talked about how his leg got stuck in the rope, how he didn't kick out, and all that stuff. But he had a fun reign in my opinion.
We gotta point out also, like, it was just bad circumstances for him as well. Like, it wasn't anything in his control or his opponent's control. It was just a bad situation having him in all his matches. And it's sad, but once again, it's nobody's fault.
Nah, stuff happens. It's going to happen to anybody. I mean, just unfortunate events. So when we talk about Shane McMahon, now I'm sure everybody's seen it. A picture of Shane and Tony Khan in the conference room having a meeting or having lunch or whatever they were doing. And, rumors are swirling that Shane might be appearing in AEW as a on-screen talent, or maybe he's going to help Tony Khan behind the scenes. It's also been reported that, he's been wanting to go back to WWE, and WWE has said no. Obviously, with Vince not in charge, it's, not a given he's going to be back. Yes, Stephanie's back, but I mean, Triple H is still involved with the company, but it's been reported him and Triple H don't really get along well. So there's a lot of factors there. But Tears, what do you think about Shane McMahon potentially working for Tony Khan and AEW?
I mean, once again, I saw a video talking about like AEW, just so people know, I kind of just randomly find videos in my recommendation. And I kind of just see what people are talking about to get the feedback and stuff. But I can't remember the video. I tried looking for it before we started this. But basically, Tony mentioned to where Tony Khan just needs a person who's known in the business to manage him. Because Tony Khan, he kind of just has a vibe of just a millionaire fan who is like creative, or not creative, kind of like in my GM in the 2K games, to where like he's kind of just fantasy booking, but he doesn't know how to manage. And he kind of needs somebody to manage for him. And Shane McMahon could be that guy, as long as he's, once again, not a on-screen talent, because I'm kind of tired of just seeing all these on-screen talents being general managers as well. Yeah, authority figure characters are good, but I'm sorry, but Tony Khan just ain't that dude. And Shane McMahon and AEW being a on-screen performer is not a good idea either, in my opinion.
No, and it's weird that AEW even has an authority figure. I think Christopher Daniels is their authority figure or something right now, from what I've been seeing. Which, I mean, it's not always a bad idea to have somebody, in control and run the roster. But yeah, Tony Khan's not that guy. I could see Shane helping. I mean, I think Shane said they just talked about, having family and, growing up in the business, or not growing up in the business, but just like understanding the business and being the son of a billionaire and all that stuff. I feel like Shane could help behind the scenes on screen. I mean, what does he really bring to the table anymore? I mean, he's just a guy kind of like Jeff Hardy at this point who jumps off stuff. I mean, that's it. He's not a guy who's going to go in there and put on a great match against a lot of opponents at his age. I mean, I think Shane's like mid-50s now. We all saw how Mania went when he last tried to do a match and he ended up just getting hurt. That was not a pretty sight. So, oh, you can go ahead too.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say no, that's completely right. I think also his last feuds in WWE kind of irritated some people too much. I don't know if that was his plan or not, but it just wasn't a fun time. But then again, I think you can also put that to some the era of WWE that was.
Yeah, it was just Vince trying to. And I'm not sure if that was more Vince or Shane using his father's power to take advantage. We all know how the Royal Rumble went, where Shane put himself over guys like Riddle and KO, and that got a lot of people riled up backstage.
Was that the greatest Royal Rumble?
No, it was damn, which one? I forgot. I think it was the one Brock won, I think.
It was I was thinking of the one where he won to become the greatest wrestler of all time.
No, that one, no. It was actual Royal Rumble. I think it was maybe I can't think of the year off the top of my head. If anybody knows that in the comments, let us know. But I know Shane pretty much went in there number 26 and just threw out 3 or 4 people within the final 4, and apparently it caused a bunch of stuff to go on backstage, and I think even Vince was pissed off at him for something. I don't know, but if Shane goes to AEW, is he going to bring that same type of vibe of well, I'm Shane McMahon. I come from the WWE, and I'm a McMahon. I know more than you type energy. We don't know, but it's always something to be concerned about bringing in a guy like that, especially a McMahon, because Vince has always had this mentality of WWE's better than everybody else. I'm better than everybody else. Not sure if Shane has that same type of attitude, but I could see the pros and cons of it. But I see more cons than pros. Like you said, Tony Khan could use another voice in his head besides some of these AEW guys. Shane's been there on a national stage and kind of ran a company for a while. We'll have to see, though. I mean, they don't really do too much for me. But again, we'll have to see. So we're going to be talking about Swerve Strickland against Bryan Danielson. And if you guys saw the promo, it was a really good promo. And Bryan said, if I can't beat you, if I don't beat you, I'm retiring. I'm done in the ring. So, Tears, do you think this is, the actual final match for Bryan Danielson? I mean, I've been hearing he's had a lot of injuries. The doctors have told him not to compete until All In. Do you think this could be the end, or do you think this gives them more of a story to go with of Bryan wins, he didn't have to retire, he has a good title reign? What do you think they end up going with this match?
I would say that there could be a chance that Bryan does win because we talked about this is his potentially final run. And we talked about in the past about one last world title run for Bryan. So this could be a situation to where, if he does win, then that could lead to where whenever he loses that belt, that's it for him. Could lead, and that could be a fun story to do on the side. I don't think Swerve loses anything for losing the title now. I could be wrong. I just don't see Brian, if he loses, being gone. I feel like he is going to let his whole contract run out first. I just can't see him leave. I think that's my main thing that's making me lean toward Brian winning the match, because I don't see him leaving like now.
Yeah, I don't really see him losing yet either. I mean, maybe if the injuries are so bad, like he said they are, then it's definitely a possibility. But it's tough to predict because I mean I do love the career versus titles situation in the story. I think it adds more compellingness to the match, even though there was already a lot of compelling aspects of it. I mean, these two can work and you're gonna have a great match. But like you said, I don't think Swerve loses a lot from losing this match. I mean, he's been champ for a minute. He beat Will Ospreay. Had a good
He has some
reign.
good wins under him.
Hell yeah. So I mean, I think Brian's going to win. It just depends how bad his injuries actually are. I mean, he's been pretty banged up, and we talked about it before. He's like Kurt Angle. When he's in a match, he's leaving it all out on the ring. He's not going to take any shortcuts or mail it in or anything like that. He's going to put his body on the line. So we'll have to see, but I would love to see Brian have a final title reign. I'm a huge Brian Danielson fan. I was happy when he went to AEW because he gets to have the type of match he wants to have that he wasn't really able to have in WWE very often. So whatever he wants to do. If this is the swan song he wants to do, then good for him. He's obviously, when he retires, he's obviously involved with AEW Creative. Tony Khan trusts him a lot, so he's definitely, even when he does retire, still going to be involved with the business. And that's a good thing because he's a smart guy, understands the business, well respected, one of the greatest wrestlers of our generation. So just hoping for a fun match, which it will be. So speaking of AEW, yeah, just fun match. So speaking of AEW, and you guys see it on the banner on the screen, MJF and Britt Baker have made some headlines. And I read earlier today, I'll pull it up on my phone to read it to y'all exactly what reportedly happened between Britt Baker and MJF. It's been talked about that Britt got suspended. So I'm going to read the full article for everybody. So this is from a reporter. Not sure how accurate this is, but this is on Twitter. So it says, of all these things are true, all of these things are true, excuse me. MJF did punch a wall. MJF did 100% go into the women's locker room. The question now is, and the question that many fans have been asking, then why did he not get suspended? The reason why he didn't get suspended is because of the context and the order of these events. According to multiple sources, when MJF hit the wall, it was not a case of like he was in front of Britt Baker and he punched the wall right next to her. Apparently, he had his interaction. He walked away. He walked very, very, very far down the hallway where no one was there, and then he hit a wall, which is different context than like, in the women's locker room punch walls. Regarding the women's locker room aspect of the story, the official information I got was that it was after this whole thing apparently had calmed down. Apparently, Will Ospreay was the first person to confront Britt Baker, and he just kind of asked her why she was starting issues. Ospreay confronted her, asked about it, and Britt Baker went off on Alicia Atu. Britt Baker called Alicia Atu by multiple accounts a stupid effing B word because Alicia Atu informed MJF that Britt Baker was berating him, talking crap about Max and Ospreay. Because she was basically like, because she was basically like, it's what the story had already been told. She was burying them as the match was going on. The 1 hour match, Alicia Atu lets Max know via text message. Max finds out later. Ospreay approaches. MJF comes to the defense of his fiance. Britt Baker goes off on Alicia for being a snitch. She accused her of being a snitch. She called her a stupid effing B word. She said she was going to get her kicked out of the women's locker room, so on and so forth. MJF going into the women's locker room was allegedly him going in there, knocking and asking if he could enter, and them saying that he could enter, and that's when he got in the locker room. The reason why he was not suspended is because HR had all the details and the information and the footage, and they looked at it over and said, okay, you're not in the wrong here. You're just coming to the defense of your fiance. So they just kind of didn't really punish him because they didn't see it as something that should be punishable. So that's kind of the deal that's the situation with MJF and Britt Baker. Britt's not going to miss All In. She's going to wrestle at All In against Mercedes Moné. So apologies for me botching a little bit. It's kind of the way that this guy wrote it or whatever. It was kind of confusing. So taken away from what I just said, Tears, what do you think about this backstage incident with MJF and Britt Baker?
There's a lot right there. My question is, like, is it possible that there was a work? Because I will say AEW tends to do well on just working us, like, with stuff like that.
So from what I've heard, apparently MJF and Britt have had a falling out for over a year now over something.
Oh, great.
So they have not been on good terms. And Britt Baker does have a history of causing backstage issues. I mean, she had the incident with Thunder Rosa and all that. Yeah, so you can continue.
I mean, on one hand, I want to say that, oh God, I do respect, like, going in to defend your fiance. And I'm not saying Britt Baker's in the wrong here. I feel like there's something of miscommunication, and it's just causing everybody to be mad. Like, I feel like there's a chance of that. I don't know why. I don't think that should be looked too harsh into. At least she's still going to be at All In, but it's still not looking like a good situation altogether for really anybody. However, I feel like Britt Baker definitely is looking worse than MJF than I originally thought. But suspension, I don't know.
Yeah, it wasn't like a long suspension, apparently. It was like for a few weeks. But, like, I don't know. I mean, like, AEW's had a lot of locker room issues with Punk and Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa and now this. And I think there's been a few other instances I'm probably missing. But I don't know the extent of what Baker. I'll go ahead, too.
I was gonna say, like, AEW just seems to have nothing but, like, backstage issues, like, recently, like Punk and Jungle Boy and so on and so forth. Like, it's just a bunch of just, like, everybody's just, which goes back to us saying, like, that what they need is not a fan like Tony Khan. They need somebody to actually, like, lay down some ground rules. And if you have a problem with the ground rules, then, you know, something's going to happen to you. Which I guess this leads to, like, I guess that leads to Britt Baker being suspended.
Yeah, I mean, seems like AEW's had a lot of suspensions. I mean, they suspended Sammy Guevara for the Jeff Hardy incident.
Which I still just like, that was a pure botch. I don't think suspended for botch.
Yeah. I mean, I get the Sammy Guevara history and everything, but yeah, it felt like it's just, you know, mistakes happen in the ring. It wasn't like it was intentional. I just don't understand. Like, they suspend her for this, but they barely did anything over the Thunder Rosa incident. The Thunder Rosa incident was like a lot worse. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like AEW needs a locker room leader. I don't know if they. I mean, I know Brian Danielson's a nice guy, but I don't think he's a locker room leader type. Like, they need like a Undertaker type where, like, everybody listens to this person when they speak type stuff. Like, it's not going to be like, oh, everybody can just argue and do whatever they want, have backstage fights, and it's all good. It's like high school where there's cliques and people arguing and all this stuff. Like, it happens in every locker room. WWE's had their fair share of fights in the locker room as well. It ain't like it doesn't happen there as well. But I just gotta know what she said about the match. I know they said, like, she said it's already been told. The story's already been told. Was that all she said? Was she hating on the match so much that Alicia felt like, okay, I need to tell Max about this? Like, I'm curious what the context of what she was complaining about the hour-long match. Because if I know that, then I can kind of judge a little bit more thoroughly. But it sounds like it, like you said, just kind of argument. Maybe there's just more bad blood there than we know about, and they're just everything each other says just turns into an argument. I don't know. I did hear potentially Britt Baker and Adam Cole broke up too, so maybe that's weighing on her. I don't know if that's a true thing, but Adam Cole posted, because everybody's been wondering why he hasn't been streaming on Twitch. He said, I've been packing and moving by myself to somewhere. So some fans took that as him saying he's single. Who knows? But maybe
That
that's like,
that would do it.
yeah, that. So who knows? There's a lot of rumors going on right now. I know Cornette was saying like Britt needs to get her stuff in order. MJF's your top star. He shouldn't be dealing with issues backstage. I mean, I get that, but I mean, every top guy has somebody who they don't get along with. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast, the nature of the business. I mean, Triple H had that back in the day. Cena's had people he hasn't liked. So I mean, it is what it is. We'll just have to see what else gets out about this. So, here's any final thoughts about the MJF and Britt situation?
Uh, no, not really. It's just one of those things where like we just don't have every form of information.
Yeah, so we'll just have to get more out about it. If more even comes out, it might just be something that's swept under the rug and we move on. We'll have to see. But final topic. Obviously, it's what everybody's talking about. Roman Reigns made his long-awaited return in the main event of SummerSlam, and just a gigantic pop, deservedly so. Fans went nuts, even though they expected it. That doesn't take away from the excitement. It was a huge, huge pop. And I will say about the main event, I didn't have a lot of hope for Solo against Cody, and I was actually impressed with the match. I thought they did some nice in-ring work. It was a fun match, and I actually enjoyed it. And I'm not the biggest Solo in-ring supporter, but I saw some nice new moves he was doing. The work was fine. Before we get to that, the Jacob Fatu injury is kayfabe. Apparently, they didn't want him and Reigns having face to face, so that's good to hear that he's not seriously hurt. So, Tiers, what do you think about Roman Reigns' return? Are you excited for him and Solo? And we'll get into him and Cody after this topic, but what do you think about him attacking Solo and that feud being set up?
I just love the fact like if you were to ask me this like 5, 10 years ago, I'd be like I don't care at all. But it's just like this being a big deal now, like that's pretty interesting. Um, I don't. Mm, okay, so how far away are we from Survivor Series? Because I know like that's the big like OG Bloodline versus New Bloodline idea, right? So how far are we from
Yes,
Survivor
Survivor
Series?
Series is usually in November, so a few months away.
So that gives us 2, 3 pay-per-views potentially. Um, I'm trying to think like match-wise. I don't think we would already get Solo versus Roman. I still don't feel like they're gonna have Roman be on like SmackDown matches or stuff. And if they do, great, fine. That works for me. Um, hmm. But I'm also curious, how does Cody play to this? Because Roman gave that look like he wants his title back, but he won't deal with Solo first. Like put the table back in order type stuff. So I'm just like wondering like the lineup. That's my main thought process. Like, yeah, the story's gonna be fine, it's gonna be good, but I just want to know the match lineup now.
So it seems like Survivor Series, old versus new bloodline. Maybe they have. I mean, Hell in a Cell is the next pay per view. I don't know if they want to rush it and have a Hell. I mean, I know Drew and Punk's supposed to be the main event, so I don't think Reigns and Solo will be facing off there.
I don't even want to see Reigns versus Solo in Hell in a Cell match. To be honest.
Nah, I don't think it. Their styles wouldn't really. Eh, maybe we'll have to see, but I think they'll do Survivor Series. Maybe wait till the Rumble or maybe even Mania. I don't know. I mean, I don't really know what they got planned for Reigns and Mania since Cody's still rumored to be facing The Rock, which we'll see if that actually happens. I mean, would you be mad? Well, we'll go ahead and get the next time. Would you be mad at a Cody and Reigns trilogy at Mania, or do you think they should wait? I know Cody said it's going to happen. Those two are, bound to face off in a trilogy. Would that make sense at Mania to have Cody against Reigns again potentially?
I mean, there's two things that lead me to saying I wouldn't mind it. Reason number one, this would technically be a tiebreaker between the two, which I mean, it sounds only fair. But the other thing is the fact like we've had Stone Cold and The Rock do back to back before. Hell, we had 3 manias of Rock versus Austin. So I really shouldn't mind it. Would I get mad? Probably not, because at the end of the day, it's just one match on a Mania card. Like we could all say like, oh, it shouldn't. It's just like, dude, it's just one match on a 2-night show. We'll be fine. It will not take up too much. So yeah, I'd say like I'd be okay with it, but if it's like a situation that they need to do, but we've already lined up for Rock and Cody, so I would say we need to make sure like that at the end of the day the main plan, but it have Reigns and Cody be like the backup plan.
I agree. And if anybody hears any mowing, I don't know if you guys can hear it, but I have like neighbor mowing, so apologies if you guys hear that. But yeah, that would I guess it depends what The Rock ends up doing. So I mean, if he can't make it, then you do Reigns and Cody. If he can, maybe you do Solo and Reigns at Mania. It's a lot of options. Yeah, Reigns and Solo doesn't get me excited. Like from a match standpoint, story I get it, but match standpoint, it doesn't really get me like, oh man, it's gonna be a great match. Which Reigns ain't known for his work anyways, so I understand that. But
I'll put it this way. Like, remember I brought up like there was a rumor for Jacob, the new leader of the new bloodline. So it was
yeah,
kicked out. What if it's like Reigns versus Jacob Fox? Would that be better?
I wouldn't hate that. They're definitely saving it for a big match, and they didn't have Jacob and him have a face to face or nothing. I could see that.
Right, but would that be like Mania worthy, or would it just be like another?
Guess it really just depends how they build up Jacob Fatu these next few months. I mean, I think that's going to be like a huge part of it. I mean, they definitely made him look stronger than.
Like, he
Say that again, you might.
He definitely like being built like a juggernaut. Like it's really tough to take him down, type stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, they're definitely building him up strong. They definitely want to say that. I mean, that match is definitely going to happen eventually. It's just when. Wouldn't hate that idea though. I I don't like them doing the same match, but I would understand why they did Cody and Reigns again because it's such a big match. It really, I mean, I know. So I talked to QJ about this the other day. In the next episode, we'll talk more about it because it's one of the topics we have planned for the next episode. Make sure to tune in for that. But like, if Rock and Cena are in both world title matches, I'm not happy with that. And I know there's fans who will say, well, they're the two biggest stars you can get. I get it, but it's like other people should be in the title match at this point, not those two, both of them. Like I get Cena needs to win another world title. There's a lot of fans who think he should. Again, we'll get into more of that later, but I just don't want to see Cena and Rock in both world title matches at Mania. I feel like that would be kind of a letdown. But I know it's all about selling tickets and getting people and casual fans into it, so I understand that aspect too. But yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. I mean, there's a lot of layers of this bloodline story. I mean, Paul Heyman said a year or two ago they're in the third inning, and they're not even probably in the eighth inning yet of this. So we'll just have to see. I mean, I'm looking forward to whatever they got planned. I've been loving the Triple H direction of just stories. I mean, he's been killing it with the storylines for sure. We'll just have to see what he's got set up for this. That's for sure. But I do like how like fans who watch Raw had the Judgment Day story to be involved in, and I do like the fans who watch the Blue Brand SmackDown have the Bloodline story to be into.
Because you can say like they're kind of the same scenario, just different stuff going on for them. Because it's basically just infighting between factions, which seems to be the main thing between the two. But it has its own flavors.
Yeah, like you got a romantic storyline with Judgment Day, and you got like just family with the Bloodline and everything. So yeah, there's something for everybody to be into. If you don't like the Bloodline story, you could be in the Judgment Day and vice versa. So at least there's something to tune in every week for because these stories are going to continue to develop and there's more layers to them. And it's really helped everybody in those groups get over and be more important. So I'm all for it. So Tears, any final thoughts before we wrap up this episode?
with the direction that both the Judgment Day and the Bloodline stories are going, I would say personally I'm more into the Judgment Day thing because it feels like we're currently in the middle of it, like the middle of the big parts. Whereas the Judgment Day or like the Bloodline part, it feels like we're trying to also figure out how can we like put in the new people versus the old people. Like we kind of know what the direction for the Bloodline part is, but I have more curiosity for the Judgment Day parts.
Yeah, Judgment Day, like you don't know where it's gonna lead. Like the Bloodline, I think we know where it's gonna lead, but it's still intriguing. Yeah, I definitely agree. Like I've just loved the Judgment Day story because I like seeing groups boost everybody up, and the Bloodline's done that as well. I mean, I know there's a lot of Reigns haters who don't really give him a lot of credit, and I'm a Reigns hater. I don't really like his in ring work. I mean, I used to hate Roman Reigns. I ain't gonna lie. I used to hate Cena, and I mean, he's brought a lot of people up. I mean, Sami Zayn without the Bloodline wouldn't be nowhere near where he's at all. You know, and a lot of and Tears talked about this before when we had Hedgehog and Genius on episode. A lot of his opponents got boosted as well. Everybody in his group got boosted. The Usos became. I mean, the Usos were always going to be important, but now they're like main event level important, and it's both that and the Judgment Day has boosted everybody. So I'm all for it. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, all the topics. Make sure to like and subscribe. Comment your thoughts down below. Peace.
Alright.